You had a leg and direct could before.
This lighting is fine. You notice like your lips are stuff, and so it was like I know you all were like yawning and stuff, and so I was like,
I was like, I know. I guess it's not.
Go to more settings.
if it doesn't, it's
My
okay.
range of motion is still not.
Okay,
So.
so I believe,
Don't
so
have
what's the
like
difference?
You just have political affiliation.
For next
There used to be two political parties that would go for president.
Should I kind of put the links? We have interspersed with which one is the over to
That's crazy. I'll give this back to the
Cambria I want from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
They swapped up
Yeah, it's like really, it's actually really fun. It's good to see that.
If you go,
Cambria, like the
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my dad and my brother did a bunch of work for them, and actually, in my freshman year, I went and like to like a.
Fix my email.
engage this last.
Oh, this person, I'm like, well,
Like none of these people are.
I haven't even taken really any business classes
So
yet,
this is where
you know,
I'm
sort of a thing. So then I was
Maybe that's why it only sent one. If you're
something someone I would consider.
I know you can't go to
The speaker, like, I was like, I'm taking professors of it's like, because I was like, we're gonna,
Yeah.
she wants to put past
Let me
me,
see.
like, it feels like so, you do you.
Yeah.
Like maybe 12:17 p.m. first day.
I've got some
Was the house then on fire? There's an upstairs kitchen.
Venue, so it's like
yeah.
do our so like she was the
I've talked to Pat about it.
like
When did he send you?
yesterday.
But it's
That was Tuesday.
upsets me to a degree where I don't feel comfortable interacting.
It's just about that also thing. For one of those.
This the issue is like like I know they're gonna be there.
Test.
Yeah.
I'm on camera. We're coming down.
I did not. What is it? Already sent. They sent it. Yeah. You didn't.
No, I miss you. This guy.
I appreciate it. They progress and they're developed.
I don't know if they have like an issue with it, and I have
I hope you.
I hope so. And we're scheduled. Very even though my class was do I have share screen?
What was it?
I was gonna ask me to set. I know.
Good. You're free after 6, right?
Ready?
3:19.
I'm calling this meeting to order at 4:03 p.m. and we will move into roll call. Senator Hassan, Senator Leon, Senator Franson, Senator Belogan's on Zoom, Senator Emke's on Zoom, Senator Ponte, Senator Bugney, Senator Reyes,
Here.
Vega, here. Senator Karki is not here, Senator Mpanga. Senator Dietrich. Here. Senator Smith, Senator Moore. Here. Senator Maba. Senator Parek. Senator Karki, I believe, is on Zoom. Senator Livingston. Senator Riggle.
Here.
Senator Colleran.
Here.
Senator Zelmer.
Present.
Senator Hillstead.
Here.
I'm here, President Narala,
Present.
and VPJ. And we have quorum. So now we'll move into the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the consent agenda? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, the consent agenda has been approved. So now we'll move into presentations, and our first presentation is Provost Hood. So you can come on up to the podium.
Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, how are you all?
Good.
Good.
Great. I'm good, I'm good. We are over halfway through the semester and Thanksgiving is upon us, and I hope that you all are getting prepared and getting ready for final exams. It's hard to believe we're saying that. But I'm here today to talk to you about formally about the academic program portfolio review process that we're engaged in, and then if there are other questions that you have, I'm definitely welcome to ask those. But I want to make sure that you're informed about what's happening here at the university so that nothing surprises you and you have an opportunity to engage in the process. So last year in April, we started having conversations really about where we are from a budgetary standpoint at the university and realizing that we have an ongoing structural deficit of anywhere from about $8 to $10 million that we realize on an annual basis. That structural deficit is mainly because we've had increasing inflationary costs and our revenues, which we generate revenue in a lot of different ways through student housing, through meal plans, through gate receipts, through parking, and the main one is through tuition and that you pay to the institution. And those receipts are just not keeping up with the amount of money that we're spending to operate the university. And so we began to think about, from an academic perspective, how can we help to do our part to ensure that we are having a balanced budget? And so we started having these budget conversations last April, which led us, and then we had expanded those conversations to meeting with our deans and department chairs in May and through the months of August. Trying to identify what are some efficiencies that we can put in place to begin to address this budget shortfall. And so we came up with some immediate things that we were doing, such as minimum enrollment requirements for courses. We started looking at how we're offering the gen ed. Do we have too many seat sections in one category of the gen ed? And so now we are, with some historical data, we're able to really predict, okay, these are how many students we have, these are their majors, this is how many seats we need in each category of the gen ed in order for students to fulfill their requirements. Now, will a student be able to take every course that they want to take? No, but can they satisfy the requirement? Yes. And so what we found was that we're offering too many seats in each gen ed category, which then causes you to have low enrollment because people have so many choices. They're spreading their choices across, I'm going to use a raw number, 200 courses in a category instead of 125. So if you have a smaller number of seats, then you're going to have more students to fill those seats and less low enrolled courses. And so we started working with that this past fall. We're going to be more intentional about it coming in the spring schedule. We've had several sessions with the chairs, and they're working across departments to ensure that they're offering the right number of seats in each gen ed category. We've calculated if we are able to do that successfully, that could probably save us on an ongoing basis anywhere from about $750,000 to $1 million a year with just that one efficiency. So if we're successful with that and we can hold true to that, then we can count that as a savings going forward. But that only gets us one of the 8 to 10 million that we have to address. So we've been doing this academic program review. So we kicked that off in August. we have identified that we currently offer about 313 degree programs and certificates at the university. You've heard this before, probably from President Inch when he talked to you. 80% of our students are enrolled in 20% of those 313 programs. 80% of you are enrolled in 20% of those programs. What we found is that the other 80% of those programs are graduating on average less than 20 students per year. Many of them have less than 5 students enrolled in them, the programs. That is not sustainable. So we've been having those conversations. We went back to the strategic budget planning process, which was conducted before many of you were enrolled as students back in 2021. And in that process, there were a group of programs that were identified as low or relatively low viability based upon the criteria that had been established by the university. So we went back to that as a starting point, and we identified 17 departments that had programs within that that met that criteria. So over the past 2 weeks, me and my team, we've met with those 17 departments to have some really intentional conversations, just to ask questions. Has anything significantly changed since 2021? Have you seen a drastic increase in your enrollments? Have there been some curricular developments that have occurred that may spur some growth in the future? What is the market data saying about your programs into the future, and what can we anticipate? So we've been having those conversations, and now we will be going back to those departments and sending them written communication saying, hey, we met with you. This is what we learned. This is what we heard. So what do you think what actions might you take based upon what we shared and what you shared with us and what we are giving back to you? So that's where we are in that part of the process as of today. Everybody tracking with me? We understand what the problem set is. We're understanding some of the initial steps that we've taken to try to begin to correct the challenges. Great. Next slide. So this is a list of the departments that we met with. I won't go through and read them to you, but those are the 17 departments that we've met with to date. Next slide. So at the October 4th Meet and Confer, we put forth, and you've seen this, those of you who attend Meet and Confer, we set forth some guiding principles and some data points and criteria that would guide us through this academic portfolio review process. We're proposing that the following principles as an initial framework for the academic portfolio that aligns with our mission, vision, and values. Our first principle is that ensuring a disciplinary, diverse academic portfolio that supports a financially healthy institution. And that's a typo, it should be B. And we're going to be anticipating the needs of our evolving student demands, the global society, and workforce. We have tons of programs that are growing, and students are saying, we want to major in X, but we don't always have the faculty resources to allocate to those programs because they have been allocated to programs that have 5 students, right? And so once you have a faculty member who's on a tenure track line, it's very difficult to just make that line go away. You have to wait over a period of time. So we're going through that process now to say, where do we need to reinvest our resources? Where do we need more faculty and where do we need fewer faculty? So that's a part of the process. Next slide. Those are the guiding principles. And then these are some proposed data points that we will use. Institutional analytics and planning, they have been working really hard to help us to understand what are the bolts and nuts that we can turn to be more successful. And these are the data points that they're saying we can play with that will help us to predict having a balanced portfolio. Program net income, department net income by course and by program, looking at the number of declarations. So how many of you are saying that you want to major in X? How many degrees are you awarding? What is your 4 and 6 year graduation rate? And then what is the market demand? What is the market telling us where the future careers are? What are going to be the future opportunities for you to have gainful employment based upon what the world and the region needs? And some of the others that we've been asked to look at it, what are the equity outcomes? So yes, you have a great program, but are all students that are enrolled in those programs, are they achieving at the same levels? And then we've been getting a lot of feedback on the value added pieces. So how are you serving other programs? So not just computer science, but how does computer science have an impact on accounting or on healthcare or on nursing? What is the community impact? So how engaged is your academic program in serving the greater Mankato need or the needs of Minnesota? And then are you working to be attractive to our transfer students and to our degree completion students? So those are some of the data points that we have put forth. We are waiting at this point for the Faculty Association to provide us with their formal feedback. They are scheduled to provide that by no later than November the 18th. And then when we go back to the December meeting, we will finalize the guiding principles and the data points for the academic portfolio review process. Next slide. These are just some of the suggestions that in our 17 meetings that we had that faculty have said, you should consider these things. They're not included in your data points, but these are some value added pieces that you might want to consider. So community engagement, public and professional presence, critical thinking, alumni achievement, service to other programs, graduates being employed. So that first destination, where are you being employed 6 months out, 1 year out, 5 years out? External accreditation, diversity of students in the program, and does this degree program meet a critical workforce need for the state of Minnesota? Those are just some other suggestions of some data points that we can consider as we're making decisions. Next slide. So in our next steps, what we will be doing is we're waiting on the formal feedback from the Faculty Association. We are, as I said, we're sending out letters to the 17 departments that we've already met with, asking them for action items and actions that they're going to take. Once we get a feedback from the FA, we will then apply those data sets to all of our 313 programs. And we're going to start in late November into the first 3 duty days, which is the 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think, of January. We will be meeting with the remaining 23 departments to have the same conversation that we had with the 17 and trying to understand, you know, what actions have you taken? What do you see the future of your programs? And then we're going to start building out different models. What could a balanced portfolio look like? What could the makeup be? We know that we will have some programs in the portfolio that are going to be very, very profit oriented, right? It's very efficient to offer those programs. You have a ton of students who are interested in those programs, and they don't have a lot of expensive equipment attached to them that would drive up their costs. So we're going to have some of those. We're going to have some programs that are just by nature expensive to run. Maybe it's because of accreditation standards and you can only have a set number of students in a clinical experience, or it requires very, very expensive equipment that you have to replace every so many years. We'll have a good number of those programs, and they're going to be break even. And then we will, as an institution, we will make some decisions about some programs that are just core to who we are as Minnesota State Mankato. It will never make money, and it will lose money. But because of who we are, where we're located, is critical to the well-being and to the success of the region. So that when we say a balanced portfolio, that's what we mean. Every program won't be a profit driven program because there'll be some things that we just want to have because it makes sense. But we have to be balanced and we have to have enough of those on the high end to cover the cost of the ones on the low end. Now, we can't keep 200 of them, right? I mean, that's not balanced to have 200 that are not graduating any students or have no students who are interested in them, and to have, let's just say, 20 that are doing really, really well. That's not a balanced portfolio. So we will begin to put together different scenarios, and we will be working with the undergraduate curriculum committee, the graduate curriculum committee, and assessment and evaluation committee. Those are already shared governance bodies that exist. We will be taking our ideas of this is one example, this is one sample. What are the pitfalls? What do you see wrong with making this combination of programs? Until we can get to a point to where we're able to make a decision as to what is the best possible solution for us going forward into the future. Next slide. Or is that the last one? So I really wanted to come to ensure that students were aware of what is happening. For those of you who may be in one of those programs that have 5 students, if that program happened not to exist anymore, you will be able to get a degree. We are required by law, and being just humane people, we have to do teach outs, right? So if your program were not to exist into the future, or if there's a different version of your program that exists into the future, we would ensure that we work to develop teach out plans for any student that's impacted. So we would never do anything to endanger a student. Also, we're not going to leave you hanging. If there's a low enrolled course that is canceled, we're going to make sure that we're checking first to see, is there anyone enrolled who needs to graduate? 9 times out of 10, that class is going to run. Even with our new strategies of trying to reduce the number of low enrolled sections that we have, we're still running over 200 this semester, right? So even in our best efforts, we know that students have needs. People need to graduate. If we don't offer the course, then it would put them off by a year or 2 years from graduating. And so we're never going to do anything that's going to increase a student's time to degree, because that is a priority for the institution, that we have timely progress toward degree completion. So that is my formal presentation. I am open to any questions that you may have, any suggestions that you may have.
Alrighty, time for questions. First one that I saw is Senator Moore.
Right, so about the not canceling classes if they're needed for graduation, this has not been what I've heard when I've talked to professors and department heads about this. I've talked to, for example, like CCOT for biology. When I talked to him, specifically he mentioned that even if classes are required, they can be canceled because of low enrollment. I don't know if that's like a communication issue or what, but that has not been true in my experience when I've talked to people about this.
Yeah, I think it probably is a communication challenge. I know that every request that has come to my office from the deans that indicated that a student needed the course to graduate, then we've always approved and allowed that course to run. Now, could there be a situation where a decision was made before it reached my level that that course would not run? That is definitely possible, but that would have been a decision that the provost would not have been a part of.
Senator Dietrich.
So there's been, obviously we're gonna make sure that students are able to graduate with the degree in the program that they signed up for. Does that also apply to students who had already begun certificates and their certificate might be discontinued?
So the certificate would be, typically the way that certificates are designed is that they are part of a larger degree program. So it's a smaller subset of courses that make up a larger degree. So we would offer the same teach out that we would for a degree program.
Senator Regal?
I was wondering, so like for some of those small programs that you mentioned that have low graduation rates or whatever that I saw on the list, I know specifically for like the physics and astronomy department, some of those professors are only specifically there for those particular degree programs. What would you do with those professors were you to discontinue that section?
So yeah, so we are, one of the things that we have been talking about, and it's really good that you mentioned physics and astronomy, because one of the things that we learned when we visited their program was that they rely heavily upon their senior students to help to co-facilitate some of their 100 and 200 level courses. That's not something that we knew in the provost office as, you know, how they were staffing their department. And it was like, wow, okay, so that's a data point that we need to be aware of. If physics and astronomy wasn't a program into the future, then we need to think about what impact that would have on the gen ed, right? So I won't talk about physics and astronomy specifically to answer your question, but what we've been talking about, and actually I met with the chairs this morning to begin this discussion, is we have to be able to develop an inventory. So let me back up, rewind. In order for a professor to be able to teach an undergraduate course, they must have 18 credit hours of specific courses at the master's or doctoral level within that discipline. So what we have been talking about is how do we understand the skill sets and the abilities and areas where professors could teach that aren't in the areas that they're currently teaching in. And so that's a massive undertaking. So that is one of the places that we're starting. How do we assemble the data to understand where Professor Jones might be able to teach that's not in ed leadership, right? So what other expertise? Did he have a master's degree in business administration? Did he have an MBA? Like I have one professor I know for sure, she's teaching her in criminal justice, but her master's degree is in marketing and communications. So if criminal justice is not, but if criminal justice was a small major, could she teach some marketing courses where we might be hiring adjuncts? So that is our goal, is that we're able to begin to know where professors' expertise lie, and then they might be able to contribute to programs in other ways. Or how would that discipline, so how could physics, how could they support us having more people who are majoring in maybe AI or robotics, right? Because you need physicists to be able to produce those type of individuals. So how will they maybe contribute to new degree programs that's not straight pure physics? Because as they told us when we visited with them, you're never gonna create or produce hundreds of physicists, right? But what else could they contribute to producing?
Senator Maba?
You've kind of already hit on part of my question, but I feel like it's still relevant. So you said that 80% of the students are enrolled in 20% of our programs. Wouldn't a sort of collaboration between the University Advising Office and the Career Development Center help in terms of spreading awareness about the type of jobs that students can land with certain degrees? Because I feel like a lot of students have like a fixed idea of what type of job. For instance, if you want to go to law school, you have to do this specific major, but nobody actually talks about the fact that you can actually do any major. So maybe kind of talking with the students and be like, what are your passions? What are your interests? What type of jobs are you trying to land? And then working towards helping them find a degree that will match those interests and passion, or like maybe work, or if they want a specific program, but we are planning on no longer offering it, maybe finding an alternative that still meets their interest and passion. Is it something that you're also looking into?
Yeah, and I have a lot of experience with it. Well, for me, the challenge here is that our current structure doesn't necessarily really make it an easy undertaking. Um, so I'll tell you some of the things that we are doing. So our new website design that is being worked on is heavily geared towards just what you're saying. So really looking at our degree programs and marketing to students more forward facing, saying, and these are the types of careers that you might be able to obtain by majoring in X, Y, and Z. I think part of the challenge from an advising standpoint is that because we have so many programs, it's very difficult for the advisors to be able to appropriately communicate and share with you about 313 programs. When we look at our IPED peers, which are the institutions across the country that we're similar to in many ways, many of those institutions, you might have 85 undergraduate degree programs. 85 to, at the max that I saw, was about 120. And for us to have 313, you see how we're kind of warped in that. And of those 313, about 220 of them are full degree programs. And so even if you remove just the certificates, we're still very high compared to our IPED peers. So I think that's part of the process. And what, not only does the curricular work and the number of programs we offer, not only does it impact our professors, but it has a direct impact on the work that they do in the registrar's office, the work that happens in financial aid, the work that happens in university advising, because those professionals have to dedicate a lot of time to maintain and to understand the little intricacies about each of the programs that we're trying to offer. So it makes it much more difficult for them to communicate all of these opportunities. So part of the process in streamlining and reducing the number of programs that we had is so that advisors can more effectively communicate to students about the options that they have.
Senator Moore, this is a second question, so, okay.
A little bit on that with professors. Some professors I've talked to have talked about how, with people either like moving or retiring, those positions haven't really been filled, and they've kind of found it hard to offer certain classes that are like either required for the major or like gen eds, for example, like philosophy. A couple people have retired there, and I've talked to the department, and they found it hard to sort of offer all the classes that would usually be offered. And because no one's been hired for that, they've been kind of having problems finding ways to work around that. So with that, how would sort of like the streamlining help those things? Because it's not just philosophy I've also talked to, again, biology about this, and they've said similar things. Like, for example, for med lab science, there's no one in charge. Well, there's someone in charge of that, but it's just the department head of biology, and that's been going on for about 4 years now. So with that, how is administration sort of making sure both we have enough people teaching and also the people teaching are teaching things that they are well enough acquainted with? Because I've also talked to people in the computer science program that sometimes the student interest gauges and what they can teach do not match up.
Yeah, so I think that that's a complicated question. I think part of that is in curricular design. And so when you think about a curriculum can either be very, very simple and very lean and very well defined on how students will progress through their curriculum, right? And I will say probably in our really in science, in the STEM areas, in most of our science curriculum, and in business, the curriculum is very defined. You follow the track, and it's very sequential. And if you miss a course, then it really throws you off because the prereqs are kind of built upon each other. Then you mentioned philosophy. And typically, and I don't want to speak specifically because I don't know the curriculum really, like I don't have it in front of me. But typically in a lot of our humanities, the curriculum is more loosely defined. And so there's a lot of choices. You would say, okay, in this area, or this category, choose 3 of the 6 classes. And in this category, choose 2 of the 8 classes. And then what faculty will end up doing is they're trying to offer all 8 classes every semester because they want to make sure that students can choose whichever of the 8 that they want to select. Well, in sociology, what they found is that they had too much choice, and they have been working over the past year and a half to really hone in and say, okay, this is what it really is. Instead of 8 choices, we're going to narrow it down to 4. And then we're able to better manage offering those 4 courses in a rotation that will allow students to experience all 4 of those courses instead of trying to offer all 8 and not having the staffing that we need. And those 8 were great courses, but they really weren't the meat of the curriculum. Does that make sense? So I think that some of the challenges in being able to offer the courses that are perceived that students need is because maybe we have too many courses identified in the curriculum that are great and it's extra and it's wonderful, but it's not the meat of what you need to be prepared to go out and to either go on to graduate school or to become successfully or gainfully employed.
Before I call on the next person, I just wanted to remind everyone that next Tuesday at 11 a.m., next Thursday at 11 a.m., there's going to be coffee and conversation with the provost in the student government office. So if you are able to make that, that's also another great time to ask more questions too. So with that, I'm going to move next to Senator Dietrich. This is your second question.
So I recently learned that in the math department, their highest profit class is Math 130. That's pre-calculus and finite math, which led me to question what makes a class or a program profitable.
Great question. And I should have Lynn Chase here to answer that question. So the number one driver for a course, the cost of a course, is the person who's delivering the instruction, right? And so then to make that course profitable, you have to have a certain number of students who are paying tuition for that course. So the way that, so a student pays $8,000 and some dollars a semester for their tuition, that tuition is then spread across the courses, theoretically, across the courses that that student enrolls in. And let's just say it is $200 per student that goes to that math course. Well, if it costs us $10,000 to staff that course, then you would need a minimum number of students based upon the tuition that they're generating to ensure that the cost of that is covered. And then all of the other costs associated with, you know, the lights and the projectors and all of the equipment that goes into a classroom. So all of those costs, and then the tuition revenue that comes in, which is why we kind of have this across the board, 10 at the graduate level, 15 at the undergraduate level, is to ensure that we're covering the minimum cost that it costs for us to offer all of the classes that we offer. It's not exact because you can't predict who's going to be teaching the course and what that person's salary is. So, but if we look broadly across all of the courses we offer, that's kind of on average of why, because if a course has 3 students in it, there's no way that 3 students are going to be able to cover the expense for offering that course. But we do run a lot of courses that are at 3 and 4 students. So then that means we need to have other courses that are at 30 and 40 to be able to make up the difference for that. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Riggle, second question.
Alright, so because we have such a wide range of programs, obviously some of those are like really niche, rare programs. Is there anything that the university is going to take into account when it comes to those very rare and niche programs that might not have a lot of enrollment, but are like very specific and honed in and are rare nationally? Is there anything we could do to make those like specializations or certificates or offer specific classes based on that particular program so that people are still able to go forward with that decided field of study, regardless of whether or not we still offer that program?
Absolutely. And that is the guiding principle where we talked about having disciplinary diversity. We may not offer a full degree in something into the future, but we still want to make sure that it's represented. So I'm going to use the Sweden example. We may have a degree in basket weaving right now, and I'm not belittling anyone's discipline, but to be safe, I don't want to call out anyone that we really have. So we may have a degree program in basket weaving now, but we have 2 students that are majoring in basket weaving. We can't have 10 faculty members dedicated to teaching basket weaving with 2 students. That just doesn't make sense when I have math classes that are overrunning and I have 680 aviation students and 9 faculty, and I can't fill all of my ground school courses because I don't have enough faculty to cover them. So we maybe don't need 10 basket weavers now. Maybe we need 4 or 5, because we still value basket weaving because that is critical to who we are as Mankato. And we want to make sure that all of our students have an opportunity to learn how to weave baskets. But do we need a full degree program in it? Or can we sustain it? That's the question. So when we talk about disciplinary diversity and being committed to that, we are committed to maintaining as diverse of disciplinary expertise on the campus as we can.
And our last question is Senator Livingston.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Could you articulate how we integrate courses from other mid-state schools that might not be offered here in Mankato, or if we partner with other institutions in any other way, and are we publicizing those opportunities?
Good question. That's not something that we've done extremely well as a system. I think that is an opportunity for us to really capitalize on our systemness. There is a pilot that's being developed currently. Moorhead, Metro State, Bemidji, and 2 community colleges, they're working on a model by which students on their campuses would be able to cross-enroll in courses, and they're working out what the tuition sharing model would be. That is something that I think once we finalize what our portfolio will be, that is something that we will launch heavily into. There's already some pilots going on with it in the languages. They have developed a consortium of all of the 4-year campuses and their foreign languages, and that's currently available, and they do cross-list courses at different campuses. I think we have some systematic challenges with ISRS and that we would need to overcome to be able to do it, but it's definitely something that we know needs to happen, and it might be a way that some of these low enrolled programs might be able to survive and thrive into the future. And that is something that we will be considering as we make the decision about what our portfolio will look like. Is, okay, what has happened at the other 6 4-year universities? Are these programs no longer existing there? And if they're not, then would there be significant demand for us to cross-list those courses and offer them to students who might enroll here? Well, thank you for having me. My goal is to make sure that you are informed and to understand what our purest intentions are. Our goal is to ensure that 156 years from now, that our institution is still thriving, and that when your grandkids and their kids and their kids decide where they're going to go to college, that this will still be a viable option for them. And in order for us to do that, we have to be responsible stewards of the resources that we have. And we have to make sure that we're investing into the future of what will be and not in what has been. And so as you get questions and as we make decisions, I know that a lot of people will have a lot of emotions about that, but we want to make sure that we are responding appropriately and that everyone understands why decisions are being made. And our purest of intents is to ensure that we are sustainable as an institution into the future. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Hopefully you will join us. Thank you.
Alrighty, up next on our agenda is the Elections Commission update, so that'll be provided by Vice President Day.
I'm going to share my screen so everyone on Zoom can see it, as well as I have some things up here. Okay, so it's almost election season, which is so crazy. So I know you heard potentially a little bit last week about Elections Commission, but we are getting kicked off so that we are ready for election season come January, which is now just in a couple months. So on the MNSU website, you can go into student government, scroll down and come to student government elections page. And then if you scroll down here, this a little bit farther is where you can find these different links. So election rules, the posting guidelines that we all follow, ResLife, if you're doing campaigning in ResLife, if you're planning about running, or if you know someone planning about running, timeline, all these other things. Biggest things I'm going to be going through today, pretty briefly, is timeline and key dates. So the fourth one down, and then the very top one, the 2025 election rules, as we have had just a couple different changes. I'm not going to be reading these word for word, as they are very in-depth and very lengthy for a reason, which is great. However, if you are really interested, you're more than welcome to check these out. Like I said, they're public knowledge. They're here on the MNSU website. As well as you're welcome to talk to Roshit and I about it, because we went through all of it this last spring. So we're a wealth of knowledge, which is really nice. I'm first going to go into the timeline so we can kind of see what's going to be going on, and then we'll go into the rules behind all of these dates. So up here at the top, it says the timeline for the 2025 spring student government election. So January 13th, right when we get back into school for the start of second semester, this is when the candidacy application will be made available. So this is when people can see what all people can run for, all those different kinds of things. People can start deciding if they would like to run for any positions. As some of you may or may not know, the various positions that are available to run for are president and vice president. Those two run together as a team. So Roshit and I ran together under Mavericks United. I got that wrong a lot in the spring because there's also a Students United. But we ran under Mavericks United. You're able to create a new one. You're able to go with one. If you have questions about that, ask Roshit, because he knows a lot more about that than I do, but I'm working on understanding it better. So those two run as a pair, and then senator candidates can run with you under your party, or they can run as independent, other parties, various things like that. So all of those positions are ran for. As kind of an example, I'm going to use Needy and Emily and Andrew as examples. All three of them ran under Mavericks United. as senators and then were elected through spring elections, whereas other senators like Marco, Tyler, Nolan, Charlie were all elected because we had vacancies during the year. So there's kind of two ways to get elected to student government. The main one though is through the spring elections, and then if we have vacancies, we're able to elect senators in that way. So that is the typical way that a senator is elected to Senate, is through the spring election for the entire student body here at MSU, all 15,000 students be able to vote for who they would like as senators, and through campaigning. So we'll get into that. Looking down, TBD rules readings, that will be happening sometime after January 13th. It will all be updated by then as well. Looking then going into March, so everybody has 2.5-ish months to start forming pairs, teams, senates, start talking to people, all that kind of stuff. And then campaigning begins starting March 21st. So no campaigning is allowed before then. Obviously, you're able to talk to people. However, tabling and actual campaigning, all of those things need to wait until March 21st. March 24th, then 4 days later, is the filing deadline for president and vice presidential candidate pairs. So the application has to be submitted by the end of that date. And again, you have to run together. You cannot run individually. So just something to think about. Okay, then the 31st, the next week, is going to be the filing deadlines for all other candidates. Like this says right here, Senate and boards. Boards are the other one that I forgot about that is also elected. So I'm going to use Mark as an example. CSU board is one of our large boards that people can run for and be elected to through the spring election. If we don't have enough people that fill that through the spring election, then through vacancy, then we appoint them, which is kind of what we've been doing through the appointments on the agenda. So that's kind of what you see there. But again, typically that's done through the spring election. Then looking at April 2nd, so about a week after the president and vice presidential candidates have to submit all of their paperwork, then we hold the candidate forum, as well as fee increase open forum. If we do have fee increases, we will all learn more about that come budget season. But if any fees are looking to increase, they have to attend this forum. Okay. And then April 7th and 8th is going to be the election. So everyone who is a student here at MSU is able to vote. Voting is open for 2 full days. Student government as a whole, we do a lot of tabling just to get people out to vote. Those of us part of the election commission do not at all endorse any candidate, anyone running for any positions. We are just here to get the word out to vote, as well as what is all going on. There are 4 different pairs of people running for president and vice president. These are all of the parties running. This is the fee increases, just the facts of the election. That is our job. We will be doing tabling to help people understand when and where and how to vote, different things like that. I'm sure we'll be asking a lot of you to help with that as well. Just get the word out to students, because we want student voices to be heard through voting. That's the whole point of voting. That is our goal. So, and then April 11th, all campaign materials must be removed. So one of the rules is anyone campaigning is allowed to put up posters. Those posters have to be approved by Mark's team in the they have to be approved by the Elections Commission. No matter where you'd like to put them up, no matter what they're talking about, they have to be approved through us in the student government. And then if they'd like to be hung up in CSU, they need to be approved by Mark's team. If you want to hang them up in residence halls, they need to go to the resident hall front offices, and then they will post them up where it's allowed. And then throughout campus, like the academic buildings, people are able, once they have all of the approvals, they're able to hang them up, but they need to be taken down right after the election, just for equity and all of those good things. So, any questions currently on the timeline before I head over to rules? Okay.
Rules that the election commission has all the approvals on the posters. They don't need to go to CSU office for them at all. So.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Well, good thing to know for future. If you ever want to hang up posters that are not student government stuff, you have to get approval. You can't just put them all around CSU. They need to go through Mark's office and get the little stamp that you see. So, good information for another time. Okay. Okay, and then heading to rules. Okay, here are the rules. Zoom is all in my way. I can't see anything. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to read through these word by word because we'd be here for probably over 5 hours. I do just want to make a note of one of the biggest changes that we as an election commission have changed for this year, just based on past recent years and kind of what we've seen changed.
Yeah, it's in the campaigning section. Okay. It's under the definitions of what is.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so in Article 4, campaigning, under 3, so 3 says campaigning shall be defined as, looking at E, it says publishing any physical or digital materials expressing an opinion about or encouragement to vote one way or another for any fee proposal, constitutional amendment, or any other item to be dedicated by a referendum vote. This would not include materials that are simply factual in nature, describing the item to be voted on. So, let's say, so I'm gonna use athletics fee just because I know a lot about that one from last year as I'm on that committee. So athletics, fee looked to increase their fee, came and presented at student government. That's kind of the fee process. If they decide, they come present. We send a letter of recommendation to the president's office if we recommend that that be approved and voted on in referendum. And then athletics started tabling outside of athletics to let people know about like what exactly the fee supports, different things like that. So if people are wanting to do that, whether it be, like it said, about any kind of fee proposal, constitutional amendment, or other item, that has to be in timeline with everything else. So they have to let us know that they're going to be doing that. They have to follow all of the rules of that are listed in here, all of those things. It cannot be like before campaigning can start, after campaigning, all of those kinds of things. Those things have to stay within the timeline as well. If you have any specific questions about that, you're more than welcome to come ask us. Senators are more than welcome to table themselves and have an opinion on those various fees, even if you do not support what the majority of student government supports. As senators, it is your job to represent your constituency, and if your constituency feels strongly about an item and you would like to table for your constituency one way or another on any of these items, you are more than welcome to do so. Again, it just needs to be within the correct timeline. So you're able to table and be like, yes, we're for this, no, we're not for this, all of those kinds of things. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, sounds good. Otherwise, just kind of going through the layout here if anyone is looking. Biggest thing, eligibility. So any Minnesota State University Mankato student may seek elected office, provided Article 1 of the spring election rules is satisfied. No person may run for more than one Senate seat or an executive office, president or vice president. So me running for vice president could not also run for a College of Business Senate seat, vice versa. Pick one or the other, please. All candidates for Pres and VP, as well as at least one candidate from each party, are required to attend an election rules meeting. So Rosha and I each attended an election rules meeting. Those are held by myself and the Elections Commission, just reading out like what the rules are so everybody is on the same page of what is going on within the campaigning staffs. And there's some more there as well. Again, you're more than welcome to read this through. There are filing rules. Again, if you'd like to read through this, you're more than welcome. There's electronic public or elections publicity. So this is another big one that I kind of touched on earlier. Elections Commission shall distribute posters advertising upcoming elections and candidacy filing procedures. If Elections Commission does see any posters that don't have our stamp of approval, we will take them down just because they are not within the guidelines, they're not within the rules, and those are not allowed to be up. So if you know anyone that is running or you're going to plan on running with someone, just let myself know. Abishu, one of our other senators, is on that committee. We have a few other people on that committee as well. We're going to have that stamp in the student government office, so even if one of us are not in there, we have a couple people that will be appointed to stamp those, so people can come and go as they please to get those stamped. They just have to be stamped so that we can make sure they are within the guidelines of everything, because we want to make sure that this election is equitable and fair for all. Campaigning, went through the change in that, but you're, again, more than welcome to read through this. As you can see, this is 7 pages long, so I'm not gonna read through it. However, if you would like to read through it, obviously you're more than welcome to. And if you have questions on either the wording in here, anything that you see, any random questions, please bring it up to myself or Abishu or anyone you know on Elections Commission. We'd be more than happy to walk through it with you, as well as if you just want something simplified, like what does this mean? We can totally work through that as well. So, any other questions or anything that anyone would like me to touch specifically on within this as I'm up here right now? Okay, cool. John, anything else? Cool. Okay, yeah, again, if you have any questions, let me know. Nothing can really start until beginning of next semester. So if you're thinking about running, just keep it in for a little bit longer and then we will get kicked off next semester. So thanks, guys.
Alrighty. So now we will move into open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? Open forum. Okay, seeing none, we'll move into officer reports and I'm gonna hand it over to President Narala.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. As Provost Hood mentioned, Thanksgiving is almost upon us. It's really getting holiday vibes. We've been planning a lot of side retreats, and I'll let Vice President Jay expand on that in a little bit. Vice President Jay and I also had the opportunity to meet with President Inch earlier this week for a holiday photo shoot. If you do see us smiling in a very funny way, just know that behind the scenes, we had tears rolling down our eyes as we were shooting that video. We had Meet and Confer last week. We learned a little bit about academic portfolio planning updates, and we invited Provost to talk with all of you today. There are more updates from Moonshot for Equity, the company that we've been partnering with in order to better meet our Equity 2030 goals. And I'm looking into inviting Dr. Morris the week before finals week, so our final Senate meeting for the fall, so that they can talk with all of you and touch base and give you updates on our Equity 2030 goals, where we're at right now, and all of you can be more informed on those topics. Some more updates during Meet and Confer. This is for folks who are parent students, and so if you're a parent student or if you know friends who are parents but also are going here at Mankato, the university is working on ensuring that parent students are eligible for priority registration. That was part of the law that was adopted, and the registrar's office is looking at allowing priority registration for those folks. So if you are a student who's also a parent and you'd like to get priority registration, we all love priority registration, don't we? Definitely reach out to the registrar's office and they'll be more than happy to add you to that cohort, so you're also added to that list. Get that word out to friends that you might know, and that way it'll be really helpful for them. I was also able to attend Budget Submeet, some really interesting conversations going on in that meeting. We'll have Vice President Gillespie, yes, thank you. Come in and talk with all of you next semester, so you guys are well up to date on the budget decisions about the university. The university is currently considering lots of different budget models. We were talking about this with the wider university community as a whole. Looking at different fee models as well, and we're working on our end to learn more and gather more information. If you have more information or you'd like to learn more, definitely reach out to me after our meeting. I'll have more time available. As Speaker Youngberg mentioned, we do have coffee and conversation with the provost next Thursday, 11 a.m. to noon. I'll be sending out more information in Teams, and I'll send out a calendar invite to all of you. If you guys are free, definitely stop by the student government office to have conversation with the provost. A couple of things to touch base on. I'm still waiting on confirmation. I don't see Todd here. I'm still waiting on confirmation from the rec center. We're looking at booking out the rec center for Friday. As I mentioned last Wednesday. Once I get that confirmation, we'll do some little trainings, but we'll have the dome booked out for Friday. And as we're nearing the end of the semester, what I would recommend all of you to take some time and just write out a draft semester check-in. At the end of the year, we require all of you to write a transition report, which is a comprehensive summary of everything that you've worked out so far. What I want you guys to work on right now is a mid-semester check-in, just to see where you're at with the mid-year, some of the goals that you were thinking about that you were able to accomplish, some of the things that you think were really challenging. And if you wanna send it over to me, I'd really welcome that. If not, you can upload it in Teams and I'll be more than happy to go over it over the holidays. But with that, I stand for questions.
Senator Moore?
With the priority registration for student parents, do we have any data on like what programs that would most be? Cause I know, especially cause I would wager most of them live off campus, it can be kind of hard for them to know about things like this. So if they could be told like in class or something, if there's like a,
We're working on getting that word out to those different students. But right now, as I know, we have the framework set, so they will be added.
Based on the data that I've seen so far, it sounds like a lot of our certificates, so people that are looking back that are non-traditional students, wanting to come and get extra certification or come get extra classes, that would be a big one. Another one would be some education classes through like student teaching or being able to be a para once their kids grow up a little bit and get into school. That's another popular one. So I would say those two. We need more concrete evidence before we can request being able to send information directly to those, just for like equitable reasons. But based on what I've seen so far, but yeah, like President Narala said, we are working on getting some of that data just to specifically make sure that that information tries to get to those people that it would represent.
I don't know if I have to like to respond to this.
Yeah.
Have we looked at, I know a lot of non-traditional students for the RN to like be, the thing to make it so it's like a full nursing degree, I don't know the name. Yes, I should, my dad has one. I know that's like pretty big with non-traditional students, especially student parents, so if that's not one that's already talked about, I think that could be one to reach out to. Especially just because I know a lot of people who work and still do that and aren't parents and all that, so.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments for President Narala? Alrighty, seeing none, then I will hand it over to BPJ when she's done writing down the feedback.
Hi, everybody. Let me pull up my report. Okay, so vacancies, just an update. 2 res life, 2 off campus, so those are for anyone that either lives on campus or lives off campus. 1 College of Allied Health and Nursing, 1 College of Business, 1 College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and 1 CSET. So if you know anybody that would align with any of those, awesome. I'm also sending an email out. We've had a few students on campus that through our Map Central page have expressed interest. So I'm gonna be sending an email out to about 25 students, just letting them know about student government. Hey, this is kind of what we do. So hopefully we get a few people off that, because I think that would be really cool. Senator reports. Just a reminder, every senator has to give at least 2 reports every semester. I know a lot of you have already done at least 1, if not a couple. I know we have some more coming up in just a bit today. But just a reminder, like if you have not already given at least 1 or are not like planning to do one in the next, like today or next week, you really need to get on giving those. They don't have to be longer than 5 minutes. We just wanna know like what you are up to through Senate and just life overall. Sit at your seat and just be like, this is what I'm doing. That counts as a senator report. And either Kendra or myself, by the end of this week, will be sending an email with who has like given a report or given 2 reports and you don't need to do any more, or you're signed up for one, make sure to sign up for another, or you're not signed up for any, let's get on that. For those of you that have joined Senate recently and been elected, you only need to give 1. So if you, I think it's week 8, if you were elected after week 8, you only need to give 1. I believe that would be Ben. Yeah. I see a few faces around the table. So you would only need to give 1, but that'll be outlined in the email as well. So then on to senator projects. I've heard from so many of you about your progress, and I'm still doing some meetings with a lot of you. So thank you for all of that. I'm going to try to meet with everyone at least one more time or get an email report at least one more time by the end of the semester about the progress you've been doing. Again, for those of you that have joined recently, we're going to use that meeting to get you set up for success for next semester, get you started planning some things for this semester, and then that way you can start taking action next semester, just because we are now pretty much headed into finals. So I'm not gonna make you start working on a project when I know we're already all super busy. And then for the end of the semester, each senator needs to write up just a very short report. This can either be like verbally in that meeting with me or like that email report, like I said, that we did this last time, of their progress and work throughout just the semester as a whole on the project. And then either your plan for next semester, if you plan to keep doing this project next semester, or if you're transitioning to a different one, and how you're wrapping up this current project. So just kind of an update. Wanted to say that now so everybody has about a month to kind of think about those kinds of things and start getting them done before finals hit. And then the last thing I have is Senator Hangout. So everyone feel free to like pull out your phone if that's where like you have a calendar or your computer. Put on your calendar that Tuesday, November 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. we are going to be doing our like catered food from winning the homecoming office decorations and a hangout that evening. So you are all able to come and go as you please. Again, this is Tuesday, November 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. You're able to come and go as you please. We may have a movie playing in the conference room. We'll have some board games and card games to hang out. Part of the office will just be for people if you're wanting to do homework and get homework caught up before Thanksgiving break. Honestly, that's probably what I will be working on. So we'll have like a quiet area to just do some homework, get stuff done with people. But it can also be a relaxing space. Like I said, we'll have those board games, just be able to chill. And again, if you just want to come in, get food and leave, you're more than welcome to do that. But otherwise, like we'll just kind of be hanging out in there, enjoying food, that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's it. Any questions? Senator Hillstead?
Just curious, what type of food are we getting catered here?
So that will be kind of dependent on university dining, like what they're able to cater during that time. As soon as we get that aligned, we'll let everybody know. If anyone has any dietary restrictions, please let us know just so that we can inform them to make sure we have food for everyone there. So we want to be mindful of that.
Any other questions or comments for VPJ? Already see. Yep.
Yeah, I just wanna add like and add the dates to like our team. The dates of the event as well.
The date of the event?
Yeah.
That'll be Tuesday, November 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. in the student government office. We can also post it on Teams after the meeting.
That would be good, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for VPJ? Alrighty, seeing none. We'll move to my report. So the first thing that I'm gonna talk about, So I don't know if y'all remember way back when I was like first elected, one of the things I was tasked to do was to create or like amend the operating procedures. Well, 2.5, almost 3 hours later, that document is created and amended. So I finished writing it and putting it together on my end. I sent it to both our president and vice president. I also sent it to our advisor, John, and just a couple other people who've been in student government for the past couple of years, just to get some feedback on what else should be included or if I missed anything and if we need to reword a lot of things. The biggest change was we still had our organization called MSSA, which the student government has not been MSSA in quite a while. So that was like the biggest update, was getting our name changed in there. But as soon as I get all the final feedback and all the edits, then it will be made available to everybody here. So I will send it out to everybody in email. I'll put it on Teams, and then we'll have Amber upload the new document onto our website, so then folks can see it there too. So that's kind of that document. Also, second thing, just a reminder that we have kickball next week after the student government meeting. I know that we might be getting some practice in, but we will keep that. We'll send you an email about practice times and location, because we guys keep that secret. Also with that, if you personally show up and participate in kickball, that can count towards office hours. Also, if you show up but bring a friend or friends and they want to kick the ball and catch the ball on your behalf, that can also count towards office hours. So this is a big thing towards office hours if you'd like. Yes, please and thank you. And last thing is my office hours point on my little list. You can please enter them as soon as possible. They're in the Teams, literally under the Senate chat. You go to files, there's a folder that literally says office hours, and under that, there's 2 documents. One is like a standing office hours document, so if you have like weekly standing office hours, put them in there so people can look and see when you have office hours. Or else you can use the Excel spreadsheet to track when you did your office hours and what you did during those office hours. So that can give you a little description. And next week on Wednesday or after Wednesday, I should see a bunch of you write kickball in your description for office hours. So yes, I will stand for questions and or comments. Senator Riggle.
Just for clarity's sake, if we have someone show up for us for kickball as a proxy, that still counts for our office hours.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
As long as they are willing to participate, then yes.
I shall continue my recruitment.
All right, thank you. Hey,
I'll just make a quick
President
comment.
Narala.
I'll just make a quick comment to expand more on that. Kickball starts at 6, but Senate meeting's gonna end at 5:15. So we're scheduling to end the meeting pretty soon, so even if we have anything unexpected come up, we'll be able to have enough time in between our Senate meeting and kickball to get to Battleground.
Battleground, okay.
alrighty. Vice President Jay.
I just have like kind of a question for Senate for this HOCO catering. So we don't have classes on Wednesday, November 27th because of Thanksgiving, fall break. Who is going to be going home Tuesday ASAP to get out of here?
Please raise your hand.
Okay, so what if we would move it to Monday, the 25th? Would more people be open to attending that night for free food? Raise your hand if yes, for the 25th.
Yes.
Monday from 5 to 8, the 25th.
You have a 3-hour
time block. Based on that, I'm going to make the executive decision and we're moving into Monday, so everybody go back to your calendars and change it to Monday just the day before. Just so that we can have more people participate and enjoy it. So Monday, the 25th from 5 to 8 is when we will be doing the HOCO catering, student government hangout, all that kind of stuff.
Besides the HOCO thing, are there any other questions or comments for me regarding anything that I've said? Also, we can chat after the meeting too, if you want to help, like create a plan to demise and overtake, our competitors. Thank you. Alrighty, so now that that's done, we have our Dean of the Day, Dr. Kathy Dale.
Well, just a few quick announcements from the College of Business. It was a busy October, and one of the big events was the College of Business hosted a Dean's List reception, and it was quite successful. We had 130 people sign up, and the night of that event, actually, probably about 150 attendees were there. We had Jay Adams, who was a guest speaker, and he owns a company called Crazy Ape. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that company, but my understanding is he buys used vehicles and boats, and I think then resells those. But he gave a really inspiring speech, and so that was a really nice night. This week is Global Entrepreneurship Week. That's been going on all week, and tomorrow is kind of the big event called the Big Ideas Challenge, and that's where groups of students, and it may even be in that group someone from the community, they pitch business ideas, and it's a contest, and there's awards associated with that. If you're able to attend that, that's in the Ostrander Auditorium tomorrow from 3:30 to 5. And so that's usually pretty interesting as well to hear those business ideas. And then lastly, the study away trip to South Korea. I just checked before I came here with the management department chair who's kind of keeping track. It sounds like we have about 11 applications, and so we're hoping for at least 15. But so if you haven't registered for that yet, please do. If you have questions about the trip, Professor Steve Formanek, who's in the management department, or Professor Wade Davis from business law are great resources to ask about that. So anything I can answer for you?
Are there any questions for our Dean of the Day? I know we saw you pretty recently, so there might not be any new questions. Alrighty, I don't see any, but thank you for giving those updates.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so now we will move into senator reports, and I'm just gonna ask our senators to keep them like as brief as you can. At least like 5 minutes, 5 minutes. So first up, we have Senator Colleran, and I'm just gonna say, we're moving Senator Dietrich to next week. So we can amend that on our agendas, thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me, everyone. I do have a lot going on, but I'll try to keep it brief. So first off is my senator project. So I changed my senator project to have more advocacy avenues within the Residence Hall atmosphere. So I'm the president of the Residence Hall Association, so we basically act as a hall government. So I've created a process called Statement for Change. This allows hall representatives to represent the voice of people living in the dorms and be able to articulate that through not only student government, but also RHA. So actually this Monday we passed our first set of Statement for Changes, which focuses on our pressing priorities for next academic year. So we were able to pass 3 Statement for Changes. So basically the first one was having a stop that actually goes from Salem Heights to MSU Mankato on campus. Because right now the closest one during the weekends is about a half mile away from the Salem Heights campus. So having that be changed is really good for next academic year. The second one is to have a bus route from MSU Mankato campus to South Central campus. Because as we have the College of Agriculture being implemented and everything, there's more classes happening at South Central for students enrolled at MSU Mankato. So because of that, we have that being priority for next academic year. And our final one is also a more technical change, where we're talking about the Bus Mankato application application, which is like the platform that shows all the buses through a live feed and just making sure those are accurate, especially Route 15, 15B, and the shuttles. So having that be articulated for the sustainability for the sustainability committee and their priorities for this academic year, we're going to try to articulate that. Yeah, so that's what's happening a little bit on the RHA end. And if you have any interest, we also have minutes. So I believe it's accessible through the RHA that central page. So look at that if there's any interest. And yeah, and over to the academic affairs side, we have, so for the actual happenings of the committee, those will be under the minutes, so I won't go too in depth on that. But if you are curious about, there is under the Senate teams, you go to the 92nd academic affairs folder, then go to minute meetings folder, then you'll find all the wonderful information. So what's happening a little bit behind the scenes over there is the grade appeal policy. So that policy hasn't moved over to policy that's going to be reviewed for this academic year. So that policy I've already submitted my clerical changes for that policy, but there are also material changes that we are considering. So I'll also try to submit those and create those this semester as well. So that's kind of what's happening behind the scenes for academic affairs and also budgets. So I want to be the budget person for budget season coming up. So I want to be very into those areas, especially when it comes to student allocations fee, as I am the chair of the student allocations committee now. So we have already done a couple allocations. We already approved that for programming and travel stuff across campus. And I want to look forward to keep doing that. So if you have absolutely any questions on the budgets, I'd be more than happy to help out with that, as I will be active in the student activities fee, the CSU board fee, the athletic fee, and also the general fund through submecum for budget and planning. So yeah. And then yeah, so and again, this is my second Senate report, and it's a little bit still a tiny bit early into the semester. So if you have absolutely any questions for me and you still want to have any conversations what's happening, I'd be more than happy to talk with you during my office hours, which are on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. In the student government office. So happy to see you all. That's everything I have, and I'll stand for questions.
Sorry, before I recognize our senator, I missed the first statement for change. Can you please repeat that just so I can note that?
Absolutely. So have a bus stop at Stadium Heights over the weekends.
Okay. Senator Hillstead.
I understand if this is not in your control, but are you working on a route to the airport, Mankato Regional? Because I know you said you're working on one to different campus, but like the airport, I know that's a big concern regarding.
No, that's not a current priority, but we could have a conversation to make it one.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Senator Colleran? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Senator Moore.
Okay, so hi, my student senator project is about the class scheduling, and communicating that with students. So like what classes are available, what classes will be offered in the future, blah, blah, blah. Why I was so talkative to the provost. So yeah, with that, I've met with different professors and department heads, as well as different students to hear their concerns, what they would recommend, those sort of things. Right now, I'm still focusing on that for the next steps, because with spring semester coming up, it's a little bit about how that happens to what we can do preceding that. So if you have any like testimonials, I suppose, about that, you can either email me and set up a meeting, or my office hours are Thursdays, 9:30 to 10:30, just in the student government like room. So with that, committee-wise, I'm on basic needs. I'm mostly in a supporting role right now. We are working on getting everything set up with the food pantry things, and working on getting like sort of meal prep classes up and running. That's with the new nutrition masters program to see how they can help with that. So yeah. And for my other committee, I'm on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Right now, as a whole, we're focused on drafting the new plan going forward, and how we're going to meet that. For me personally, also, I have been working with the LGBT Center and working. There has been a problem with some of these systems not using preferred names for students. And there's also been a problem with students not being like gendered correctly in classes. So right now I'm working with both SAGE, which is the Sexuality and Gender Empowerment Club, which I'm also a part of, working with that on how to proceed with that with involving student government, and for DEI about how to proceed with making sure the preferred name system is like across everything and updated, and making sure that's available to students. So, any questions?
Are there any questions for Senator Moore? Any questions? Right, seeing none, thank you. Alrighty, now that we have our senator reports done, we'll move into vacancies. Is there anyone here for senator for residential life? Anyone here for off-campus? College of Allied Health and Nursing, College of Business, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and then College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. No, cool. Alrighty, so then that moves us to new business. No new business. Any old business? No old business. And then I'll go into announcements, and I do have one quick announcement before I open up the floor. So next week, since it is Student Government Kickball Redemption Week, there are like 6 of you signed up to give a senator report. Since we're trying to end the meeting at 5:15, if you would like to submit a written report, there is a folder underneath the senator report tab that says written reports. If you can send it to me and upload it into Teams, or at least just send it to me, then I will upload it there, and that can be your senator report for next week instead of giving a verbal report. But if you are going to give a written one, please let me know that you're gonna give a written one, and if you're giving a verbal one, please let me know if you're giving a verbal one so I can highlight that so we don't have to go through all this. Vice President Jay for point of info.
Okay, if you have your senator report also scheduled for a different time and you're like, I don't wanna talk in front of everybody, you can change it to next week and send a written report instead. So, just an idea, or if you haven't given 2 reports yet, or if you just need to give one and you're like, no, don't wanna do it, you're more than welcome to send a written one. For anybody that doesn't like talking a lot, which
Alrighty, so that's all my announcements, so I'm just gonna go down the line. So Senator Moore.
Right, so November 19th, Tuesday, the LGBT Center is holding a Transgender Day of Remembrance Vigil in the CSU Ballroom from 6 to 7 p.m. It's not a particularly happy event, but if you want to show up to support, that would mean a lot to a lot of people.
when is the time for that again?
6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Tuesday, the 19th?
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
Ballroom? Okay. Senator Colleran.
Yes, yield to redundancy to Mark, but also Diane Services is providing a premium meal tonight. I believe having from now until I want to say 9 p.m. And the premium meal is Greeks Gatsby night. So they have multiple dishes that are very high quality, just focused on like theme with Gatsby. And like the best part is it costs just as much as a UDC, as a regular meal at the University Dining Center would. So I definitely recommend going over there to stop by, get a really good meal. I definitely am, so I recommend it.
Senator Livingston, sorry, I had to write all your names down.
I'm the treasurer for the new Politics and Policy Student Organization. And our main program right now is we do podcasts. And we cover a range of whole subjects from like political debate preparation to the ongoing situation in Ukraine. And every episode is created and produced by students. We often bring in experts and professors. And you can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And also, if you go to transistor.com, if you look up Government 101, that's like the only podcast, we're the only podcast named that apparently. So you can find us under Transistor, and then you can find everything, all the episodes there for free. So yeah, just a little plug.
Senator Maega.
So Senator Mabah, me and ex-Senator Banga were working on a project, which was the creation of the Francophone Students Association, and it's a pleasure for us to announce that we're having our first meeting this Friday at 2:30 p.m. in CSU 201. So.
Can you send me that information? Thank you. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? We're all looking at you, John, to see if you have any announcements. Alrighty, if there are no other announcements, then we will move into final roll call. Senator Hassan, Senator Leon. Present. Senator Franzen. Here. Senator Balogun is on Zoom. Senator Emke is on Zoom. Senator Ponte. Here. Senator Bugney. Senator Reyes. Here. Senator Maega. Here. Senator Rajesh Karki. Senator Mpanga, I think is on Zoom. Senator Dietrich. Here. Senator Moore. Here. Senator Maba. Present. Senator Hart. Here. Senator Karki is on Zoom. Senator Livingston. Here. Senator Riggle. Here. Senator Colleran. Senator Zelmer. Senator Hillstead. Here. Me, here, President Narala. And VPJ. Present. Okay.